Hello, and welcome to the second session in our course Basics of LT. And in this session, we'll talk about the students. We'll talk about who we teach and why we need to do it to teach them well. So we will be talking about understanding learners, about learner needs, and about individual interests and peculiarities. So about learners, we talked a lot in our previous course when we discussed the transformation from digital immigrants to digital natives and how our learners as digital natives are clip thinkers, how they think in short sentences, and what we need to do to teach them well. Today, we'll talk about the internal and individual factors that affect language learning. They are age, gender, aptitude, background, learner type, and learner style. Usually, we talk about the age of students as children, adolescents, and adults. However, when we talk about children, we may also divide them into preschoolers and young learners or young school learners. Usually for such kids or for the kids, games are very important and they use so much, the fun in the classroom can give so much to them. So you will teach language through games, you will change activities very often, and lots of physical response is important. They are kinesthetic learners. Teenagers or adolescents already have another type of activity as their main one. They are focused on social skills, on forming social skills. So very often they are hard to please. They are very vulnerable to negative judgments, and their cognitive skills keep developing. So you will teach them with very clear structures of the lesson. You will explain the interest in, or express, sorry, the interest in their lives. And of course, you will try to be a positive role model. Adults are often seen as the easiest group for teaching or for to be taught, but in reality, they can lack interest or they may not be willing to make mistakes. And very often they will concentrate longer, they will be more disciplined, and for many teachers, yes, they will be a better audience. We can also distinguish between genders. Girls or females usually have a more positive attitude and they are big motivators for boys. Different aptitude, which is a specific talent for language, also divides our learners very often. And we have to admit that aptitude means a lot in learning a language. The same can be said about students' background, because the type of the environment our students come from is important for the education they are getting, because we structure our education on the knowledge that they have already acquired, and it also should be taken into account. Different learner types, like we have different channels, but out of these channels, three are most important. They're visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. So learners who learn through vision, through hearing, and through the experience, through the body. Very often, young learners are more kinesthetic learners, and with years, they develop either visual or auditory skills more. So when you prepare a lesson, you have to take into account mostly these three main sensory channels. Another theory belongs to Howard Gardner. He talked about multiple intelligences. He thought of different types of intelligences: linguistic, verbal, logic, mathematical, spatial, body kinesthetic, musical, interpersonal, intrapersonal, and naturalistic. And from this classification, we can draw a conclusion that if your learner is not the best language learner, probably he or she will be better in different types of activities. Also the cognitive styles will differ. Some people will be more passive or more active. They can grade from more analytic to more holistic and less analytic, and altogether they are divided into convergers, communicative types, conformists, and concrete types. For these learners, different ways of teaching are preferred, like using visuals or discovery method, focusing on forum teaching or group work cooperation. It all will depend upon the type of a learner you have. However, no matter how much we tend to be learner-centered, often it is very difficult to take into account all individual characteristics of a learner. So I would suggest for a teacher who is teaching a group of learners to, first of all, prepare all tasks for visual, kinesthetic, and auditory learners, like these three main types of learners. Of course, you need to take into account your students' age, gender, aptitudes, and background when you prepare the materials. Learner and cognitive styles are very optional, so very often they just allow you not to get too much frustrated, but also is good when you take them into account. So once again, age, aptitude, background, three types of learners: visual, kinesthetic, and auditory. And sometimes if you want to learn more about your students, or if you have tutoring or individual classes, you may take into account their learning styles and their cognitive styles. So again, in this video, we talked about the learners, and in the next video, we'll be talking about different types of teaching hypotheses or theories. Thank you.